Hey everyone, I wanted to go over the new and exciting news we got from Monster Hunter Stories 2 Wings of Ruin that is set to release on Nintendo Switch and on PC on July 9th. And thanks to Capcom, we finally got our hands on the official fact sheet for the game. This is something that publishers and developers often put out whenever they're sending details over to the press so they can have something to talk about and actually describe the game a little bit better to their audiences, be it either through an actual article or be it through a video format. So this is actually one of the things that I use very often whenever I go over any news that were announced for the Nintendo Switch on a weekly basis. For those Sunday videos, I usually use the fact sheet whenever that we have provided directly from the developers and or publishers, giving us some details about the game that actually might be, because we don't necessarily have a hands-on experience as of the time of writing. So obviously some very clear tells is that it will be a 1 to 2 player game. It'll cost $60. It's an E10 plus rating for everyone. It does release on July 9th. It is published and developed by Capcom and is coming to Nintendo Switch physically and digitally, and interestingly enough, only on Steam digitally. It's not coming to Epic Game Store, which is something that I probably thought they would have done. Maybe make a deal directly with Epic Game Store to be able to make that game available there exclusively at the very least for a certain amount of time, but nope, it's just directly coming to Steam like a lot of other Capcom games. But moving over to the actual details, they do give us a game overview, and I do want to go over that a bit. It basically reads, Monster Hunter Stories 2 Wings of Ruins offers both RPG and Monster Hunter fans a unique experience with a rich storyline featuring charming characters, challenging quests, and friendly encounters with familiar monsters from the popular series. After Rathalos vanishes from across the world, players assume the role of a young rider who is the grandchild of the illustrious Rider Red. Together with the mysterious white variant Anna and the self-proclaimed feline hero Naviru, players will embark on a sprawling adventure that spans numerous destinations as players hatch, train, and live alongside monsties. They will encounter numerous new allies, foes, and challenges on their path to unravel the prophecy surrounding the Wings of Ruin. At each new destination, players must make use of their monsties' unique abilities to reach a new area and uncover hidden valuables. Players will engage in a thrilling turn-based combat as they utilize familiar monster hunter weapons, strategic skills, and devastating kinship attacks to overcome enemy encounters. Those interested in partnering with a friend can even team up with co-op multiplayer battles. So as you might have imagined, this is a pretty good summation of what the game is actually going to be, giving us a lot of those details that we've seen on the trailers already, but actually going over some of the more intricate details regarding how the player is going to be able to interact with the world and how you're going to be able to interact with the actual monsters that you're going to be able to train. And this is something that this game definitely loves to focus on, the series in general, where in Monster Hunter typically you're just killing monsters, and this one you're racing them as partners, as buddies, or as monsties as they like to call it. So it is definitely an interesting mechanic and a new different way to be able to see the Monster Hunter world in general. Transitioning over to the features, they clearly label a few of them that I'm going to go over. A thrilling adventure as you team up with familiar creatures from the Monster Hunter universe and charming crew of companions for an emotional and expansive journey. A strategic combat that makes use of assorted Monster Hunter weapons to target monsters' weak points and employ powerful skills to control the flow of battle and unleash devastating kinship attacks with your monsters to overwhelm any foe. As you become a Monster Hunter rider, you create your very own unique character and use the power of your kinship stone to live in harmony with the monsters that others fear. A deep RPG progression where you collect and hatch eggs to build a party of monsties with specific abilities and strengths that you train to monsties to become unique and powerful companions, and craft new weapons and armor to counter increasingly dangerous threats. A scenic exploration where you navigate picturesque destinations on foot or while riding your trusted Monty in a search for egg nest, hidden feature chests, and much more. Utilize the unique skills in each monsties to leap over the large gaps, climb sheer cliff faces, and rapidly traverse expansive terrains. A rich content complete with a wide array of optional quests to assist the local residents at each one of the locations as you progress through the story and earn some rewards. And lastly, co-op multiplayer where you join up with friends and tag them in multiplayer battles and exploration. So as you can see, these are basically their big 7 talking points for this game, where they're trying to get you to basically pay attention to a couple of very interesting details. Obviously, the fact that you're going to be able to customize your very own character, the fact that it is still an RPG with deep progression, and unlike typical Monster Hunter fashion, basically a lot of exploration where they're basically telling you to go from one place to another, deal with the inhabitants of a specific city and help them out to basically progress the story and actually get to know their past and their stories. And obviously they talk about the thrilling adventure that the story is going to be mainly focusing on. As you've seen in the trailers, one of their biggest pushes is actually the story and the fact that the Rathalos that your main character will be racing could either be a hindrance to the world and bring along with it calamity, or the fact that you can actually save the world with it. So they are making a big push for the story, obviously, as the title would imply, but more so than ever, I think that one of the biggest factors for this game is that there's a sheer amount of variety when it comes to monsters and the ones that they're actually going to be showing off hopefully a bit sooner than later, because this game is coming out relatively soon. And I think that they've done a rather poor job showcasing all of the monsters that are going to be available in this game. Now you do have to keep in mind, and this is something that I talked about before, where there is something like 140 some monsters that are going to be available in this game in different iterations and different versions of each one. But one of the things that they haven't necessarily showed is just that sheer variety, although it's definitely there. So I do think that they maybe need to showcase just in one of those trailers, maybe even for E3, just make it a very clear thing of just like the amount of monsters that are going to be available in this game, that yes, it's a different type of hunt, it's a different type of experience, but you're still going to be able to take them down as you would have in typical Monster Hunter. So, and definitely again, the fact that you can raise them and make them your monsties and your buddies and stuff like that is also an interesting factor to consider when going forward. So yeah, this is basically just an interesting summation for the entire game that Capcom put out. These fact sheets are something that are very intricate when it comes to like Game Press actually having information and access to a specific game. Usually they'll let you, play a demo or a build of it or whatever, specifically when it comes to E3 scenarios where they let you play a game for a little bit and give you a fact sheet, and you basically write an article based on the things that you saw and a little bit of what the fact sheet actually provided you with, which is, as you can see, a lot of different and interesting details that are not necessarily bogged down with just a lot of fluff, and they're just trying to get to the core of what that game is actually supposed to showcase. Notice that the fact sheet doesn't actually mention like monster numbers or like DNA splicing or abilities or even how many weapons are available. They just like casually go over it and they don't actually get bogged down by the details. That's actually by design and by nature, because they're trying to keep you like guessing at the same time while also informing you. So hopefully you did find this video informational. If you're brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up. And as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya!